Okay, sorry about that. It looks like I was on mute there. Can everybody hear me now? I just want to make sure before I do another false start here. Sorry about that. Okay. Yes, very good. Okay, thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First things first, thank you very much for joining us on a ConnectSMART webinar. This is the first in a new series of webinars that we have on the ConnectSMART SP dashboard side. We did a similar series of webinars with the ConnectSMART 4 dashboards, although this one is going to be a bit more comprehensive since the new product has a ton more features. So there will be additional webinars versus what we had before with ConnectSMART 4. But just a heads up that you should expect to see these coming out weekly. Although this week we do actually have 2 of them. There's another one on Thursday. So today's webinar is Dashboards 101, where we're going to, well, this is my agenda actually that you guys can see here. So we're going to cover these items just in terms of kind of a quick run through of here's all the things it does and here's kind of how it does it. But the later webinars are the ones that are going to be the bigger deep dives. So Thursday's webinar is creating and configuring dashboards. That's when we'll actually dive in and deep dive into some of these topics. So beyond just viewing and accessing them, we'll get in and we'll clone things. We'll go ahead and configure stuff. We'll make things from scratch. So just keep that in mind that we do have a ton more detailed webinars that are going to be sort of deep dives coming up weekly if you don't get what you need from this one. But I am going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to actually let me get my control panel out of the way here. All right, so let me scoot this. All right, so if you guys are brand new, what we're going to do first is we're just going to go ahead and get logged in. And I am going to use, yep. All right, so this is what you see when you first log into ConnectSMART SP. And any of you who are existing clients have probably seen it. Anybody who's trialing or considering may not have seen this. So what we're going to be focusing on today is specifically this section, so the dashboard section. That consists of the dashboard browser, the widget creator, and the data queries. And just to keep myself straight, I am going to keep coming back to my agenda here. But at its most basic, our dashboards where they are being fed from the widgets. So each one of these individual items is a widget. So each dashboard contains widgets. And each of those widgets is pulling data based on the data query assigned to it. And in the case where we have oops, I should have updated that a minute ago. Sorry about that. I need to get this one updated. I'm on a tenant I don't normally use, but the stuff that you guys have, your drill down should be working fine. I've been in here monkeying around. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and get that fixed. So service management is one of the canned dashboards that you guys have available to you. Okay, let's get back to, there we go. Okay, so in this case, let's see, so I've got some time here. So the drill downs are based on another query. So that was all I was just trying to get to. So there's a query, the data query that's pulling in a row of information or a group of information here. So showing the hours of any individuals for today. And then there is a different query that is going to show us a list of information associated with whatever I clicked on. So just keep that in mind. Most of these are going to be 2 queries behind them. There will be basically the face of that widget and the drill down behind it. So as our agenda states, actually, let me go ahead and pop this on another tab so I can see it a little easier. There we go. Okay, so to view our existing dashboards, and keep in mind I have some links here going back to some of our existing documentation that does walk you through. Shows you how to get in there, but to go ahead and view our dashboards, I'm going to go back to my ConnectSMART SP console. Under the dashboards, I'll go to Dashboard Browser. And in this case, I do not have any of my own dashboards configured. This is what you would see if you were trialing or doing a base install. I have not created any new dashboards, but fear not, I have templates here available for me where I can go and use these and duplicate these and create additional dashboards from these, or I can just publish these and use these. Technically, these templates can be used as is, but keep in mind these are ours. So if you change them, we will overwrite them. And we are going to actually go ahead and lock it down so that it kind of keeps you from doing that so that you don't accidentally modify something that will get overwritten. Let's go back over here. So basically to view your dashboards, you just come to this dashboard browser, you'll see the list. If you're not seeing the templates that you're looking for, or you think you're missing anything, double check and make sure it's not a template. And obviously if you're looking for the templates, you're going to want to go ahead and click to show templates. So to create a new dashboard, you can certainly go ahead and create one from a template using the button here. I'm going to go ahead and make a personal dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and call this custom and Jen's personal dashboard. So now you see I have a template for the my personal dashboard, and then I've got a dashboard based off of it, which is mine, down here showing up in the normal list of dashboards. I'm going to go ahead and view it first. And this is not my info. And that is because, actually, let me pop that guy. All right, so this I can go ahead and set at the dashboard level. So in this case, these are inherited. So these settings can then be inherited by the widgets that are on the dashboard. In this case, all of the gadgets on this dashboard are set to inherit the username from the dash. So I'm just going to go ahead and add myself. And all of these will go ahead and update with my information. All right, so you do not see my current appointment because I do not have the webinar on my calendar right now, but you do see yesterday I'm working from home because I need to give up some parking spaces to a meeting we're having here on site. And then you'll see the rest of these records are actually all specific to me. So I have a ton of these hidden recurring, which just means that somebody needs to go in and clean out some tickets that we don't have workflows auto closing, but you then see my hours by day for the past 7 days. You've got my open tickets count, my missing agreements, my tickets with no time entered. So these are going to, come on, there we go. All right, so then when we drill into one of these gadgets or one of these widgets, which is the new vocabulary, I do want to highlight some of the features that we actually have here inside of the drill down. So we can actually export our data to Excel. You can export the entire contents, or if let's say you just wanted to select a few of these, or I want to grab all these guys, I can export just my selected rows. And that I'm going to just dump right out into Excel. Another thing I want to show you in this drill down is I can group by my service board, and then you'll get a breakdown here of and I can collapse. I can view that way. I can drag my service board back over here. I can go ahead and sort just by clicking on that column. And I also have a filter here that gets a little more advanced where I can do things like, let's see, this is a good one. So like contain. So the resource list, if you guys are familiar with it, if I were to look for where the resource list equals JCoffee, I'm not going to see this ticket. I'm not going to see this ticket. But if I do where it contains JCoffee, it's going to go ahead and update. Now, obviously, I'm going to get everything because these are all mine. So let's say I change that to Jan. Oops, let me get my contains Dan Martin. I think my browser might be acting a little funky here. I'm not normally in Firefox. Well, I will pop that out into Chrome and make sure that's working, but I will get that into our dev folks to find out why that's happening. But typically that would allow you to do that. It worked the first time. I just made it angry. So just wanted to make sure that you see some of the other options that you have here, though. These filters do get a little fancy with the ends with, starts with, contains, doesn't contain. So it's a little more robust than what we had before, if you're used to that. We do have the summary information, the count, the aggregate info, so it's going to give me a ticket count so I can make sure my ticket counts match what I have here. In cases where I'm looking at, say, SLA averages, whatever that column is, I would actually have an average for that so that you can validate between the drill down and the gadget that it's looking at, or the gadget that's looking for that drill down, just to make sure that the face of the gadget matches what you're seeing when you click in. So, all right, so that's just a few things I'm highlighting here on the dashboards, on the drill downs. I will get into that a little bit more on Thursday, so just if you have any questions, though, go ahead and yell them out. But I will go ahead and scoot forward here just so I don't belabor the point. So we've created this dashboard from a dashboard template, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how we would just create a brand new dashboard from scratch. And so here we go. So I'm going to go review it. It's going to be quite boring because there's nothing on it yet. And here we go. Excuse me. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out to edit. And I'm going to add a widget. I am going to add open tickets. My open tickets count. Okay, so I need to tell this gadget to look for me. And since I'm going to make a personal dashboard, what I actually want to do is I want to add a filter at the dashboard level. What this is going to do is just like before, it's going to show me, or it's going to allow me to inherit things. So if I want all my widgets to look at the same service board, for example, this is where I would do that. In this case, I'm going to use username, and here, I want to highlight this for you guys. We have about 30-ish lookups built in for you. So what they'll do is these are actually looking at your ConnectWise database, and these are looking for your individual activity statuses, types, in this case, my member lookup. So what that does is this is going to make that drop-down available where I can filter. So, for example, let me save and refresh briefly. And if I want to go ahead and test that filter, there we go. So that's what I mean. Now, one other thing I want to highlight for you is we have the pre-built lookups. So lookup, this is just an example to show you. I'm not going to use this in the actual thing here, but I want to show you my ticket status lookups. Where'd you go? Okay. All right. So we've done a few other things here. So in the statuses, it actually shows you what board that status is associated with. And so that we make them available but don't clutter up the list, our inactive statuses are going to be down at the bottom with a little tilde in front of them, keeping them down at the bottom so they don't clutter everything up. But that way, if you're wondering, or in the instance where everybody has 14 versions of new, you can see at a glance which service board that ties to. So that should help cut down on some confusion when you're just faced with a list of statuses that may or may not be identical from board to board. So I am going to pop back out to my dashboards. That was just a kind of quick run through of making one from scratch. On Thursday, we'll dive into a lot more of the details there, but we've got a lot to cover today. So I will go back to my personal dashboard, and I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to edit this because it already exists and has some info. So let's say I have no need for hours by day, but I like everything else as is. I'm going to go ahead and yank that guy out, and I can go ahead and add a new widget. And let's see, my tickets open. So this one, as you might guess, has the username already set. As I showed you before, that's what all these are based off of. But when I add a brand new widget, I need to tell it to inherit that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to my filters, and these are just the filters that if I were not to inherit anything, I would then just pick, just like I would, just to name, my service board, my service type. It'll filter everything down for me. But here, I actually want to go ahead and inherit that from my dashboard. This user is actually going to be the ambient username. That will be activated in the very near future. It is not yet. So right now you're still going to need to inherit your username from the dashboard itself or from the test filter, or from not the test filters, but the filters in the view mode. But you see that number updates. It takes me down to 106. And because that title font doesn't match the rest of mine, and let's say I want to get rid of the my, change the font size. I went ahead and updated that. If I wanted to add a subtitle, it's all right here, easily accessible. Of course, it defaults to being very much larger than I would want. And if you really have a need for it, you can even rotate that value there. And if I get rid of the subtitle, that should make that a little bigger. So see, if you want to really make it stand out, you can rotate things at all kinds of funky degrees or weird angles. Most people don't really find too many reasons to do that, but it is there. And there will be a lot more things coming here as we add them, but these UIs will definitely be adding a bunch of extra features. So where we're actually going in the back and configuring your drill downs and your widgets for you, we're going to expose a lot of those things in the UI here that we could not before. So let me just jump on over here, and I'm just going to revisit my agenda. I don't know if you guys are looking at it. Oh, actually, you probably can't see it because I haven't published it yet. But all right, so we have viewed dashboards. We've viewed dashboard templates. We've created a dashboard from the templates and from scratch. To duplicate a dashboard, I'm going to go ahead and bounce back out to my dashboard browser. So if I wanted to build a new template, technically I can duplicate it the exact same way, just grab the templates, but let's just say I want to make another one of these personal dashboards for Gail. Gail, you're on the call, right? Gail is my colleague here. I saw her name pop up on our little intro there.
Yes, I made it on.
There she is. Gail is our reporting expert here, so you will see her in a webinar very shortly where she's going to be covering a bunch of reporting topics. I've got a broken category thing here. All right, good to know. That is not... All right, well, that'll be fixed pretty quickly because that's certainly working elsewhere. I'm not sure why that would be acting up. That is the beauty of ConnectSMART SP, though, is as these things are identified and reported by you or us, we can actually get those fixes in very, very quickly because we have access to all your tenants. You don't have your own server on site to worry about pushing a software update. So do bear in mind that any little bugs, any weirdness that we see today or ever, we should be able to get fixes in very, very quickly. So duplicating a dashboard, I will come back to. You'll definitely see how to do that on Thursday, but it seems to be acting up for me right now on this tenant. And it's probably a function of the dashboard that I'm actually trying to copy since I have had plenty successful duplications today. To delete a dashboard, it is pretty straightforward. You're just going to hit delete and ta-da! So that you probably would have deduced on your own, but just in the interest of being thorough. And we've covered editing a dashboard to an extent. Let me just show you one other thing. This isn't technically an edit. It's the themes that we're adding. Right now, you can just toggle between the two, but you've got a dark and a light. So that's not really an edit feature. It's just going to be a display feature, really. I don't believe we've got anything else particular. Okay, yeah, so we do have the title where this is where I would rename my dashboard. This is the name that appears in the dashboard browser list. This is my description, which is visible. It'll be visible in the list and in here. It's where I'd set my category of custom. And this is magical for me, and you guys can ignore. The title, if I wanted a title displayed on the dashboard at all times, this one in my case I think is Jen's personal dashboard, and we'll center that. That's just going to pop this up here so that it's visible even in the view mode, even in full screen. It'll keep that title at the top of my dashboard at all times. Normally, if you don't have anything here, you won't have a title showing up. I'm not a big fan of it, so I'm going to leave it off. And the filters, that's something we've touched on a few times here, is where you would actually add the filters at the dashboard level, which are available for the widgets to inherit. However, having a selection here does not mean that every widget on the dashboard is actually using this. It's only the widgets that are set to inherit. So just keep that in mind. Just because I've put in my filter here and I've added a value does not mean that it trickles down to the widgets on the dashboard until I've actually confirmed that those are set to inherit like this guy, which looks like this. You'll see the dashboard.username in italics. Whereas if I had made a selection, it would look like this. So there's a slight difference there where you can kind of tell at a glance that this is very clearly not one of my statuses or a username. This is that's the syntax that we use when it's inherited. And if you guys stay tuned, we will get you some reports, some reporting views that can give you some of that info as well. So it'll just sort of pull out what gadgets are on your dashboards, are things inherited or not, so on. So it looks like I have touched on everything I had under the dashboard browser. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the widget creator. And unless anybody has any questions at this time, if you do have any questions, though, you can always pop them into the control panel. A few of you who answered me earlier when I asked if you could hear me, you obviously know where to put those in, but anybody who doesn't know, on the GoToWebinar control panel, there is a section called questions, and you can also raise your hands to get us to give you audio. So whichever one is easiest for you, whether you want to type in the chat or ask for the mic, I will happily do so. But now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the widget creator. So the widget creator opens up to this sort of blank screen because the intention here is for you to either start making a new one or open an existing. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and do, let's see, I don't know. I don't want to do a my, let's do a regular. Do tickets resolved today. So this is the Tickets Resolved Today widget that's published on the Service Management template dashboard that we were looking at a few minutes ago. If I change this one, any changes I make here beyond some of these items, these things get overwritten at the dashboard level, the titles, the fonts, all that stuff that I was showing you, all the design features. However, if I were to change the query, any of the data behind it, that is going to affect what's already published on the dashboard. So just keep that in mind. You can name this anything you want. It's not going to break your dashboard. It's not going to change the title on the already published gadget. But if I change the query that I'm looking for, in this case, tickets resolved today count, which makes sense. But if I were to accidentally put it on something else, that would change what's already on my dashboards. So just keep that in mind. So at its kind of most basic, this is a text widget. They used to be called gauges before, are just sort of our digital gauge radial, or not a radial, but just a digital gauge panel. They're referred to as text gadgets in here, and that's just basically because whatever it is, whether it's a number, it's a string, it's going to just display whatever that text is that you've selected in the data query. For anybody who's not going to be writing their own data queries, disregard. It just means it's a box that's going to have some text in it, whether it's a number or it's a name or it's a company name. That's all that means. So it's not going to be a chart. It's not going to be a map. It's just going to be strictly whatever the actual value is that's returned. So each one of these then is looking for a data query to figure out what should I put here. So in this case, we have it looking for tickets resolved today count. That's one of my data queries that's over here. We are going to dive into those just in a moment. And then the other thing I want to keep in mind is the action. So when I click on a gadget, what happens? So in this case, I have a drill down gadget. So my gadgets or my drill downs are actually opening up another gadget type called a table. So in this case, it's looking for tickets resolved today drill down. And I'm going to show you what that actual widget looks like so you can see what I mean. And then I'm going to take you back to the dashboard to show you what that actually looks like in the wild. So that last gadget that we were just looking at is actually pointing here as its drill down action. And as you can see, it's a list view of the tickets that were resolved today. So we're good there. And I'm going to pop back over to my dashboard. And we're going to see tickets resolved today. was inheriting something weird. Let's see. All right, let me point this to the help desk. Give me one moment here. What are you doing? Tickets resolved today. One moment. I think I may have broken this a minute ago. All right, that is my template one. Let's see. So on its face, it is. So we'll use that as our example for data queries. Let's see what's going on there. Okay. So my drill down is working. It looks like I've got a little bug here or some sort of funkiness going on with my parent, but my drill down is showing me correctly the 7 that I'm looking for. And that drill down is strictly just means that it's opening up the table widget that's associated with it. While I've got you here, I will actually go ahead and take a look at tickets resolved today. And we've got some, now these are mostly going to be for us and people who are creating their own, but I just want to see, did I mess something up? I was doing some bulk updates on this tenant earlier, and that is my, yep, I overwrote this earlier. Treated that like an open tickets count. All right, you guys should be good on the tenants that you're on though. And if you are not, let me know. It is a quick, literally a couple mouse clicks to get you fixed. There we go. So my tickets resolved today is all good now. Okay, so like I said, if you see anything weird, just give us a shout. It's a quick fix. If anybody has any issues, we are going to do the exact same thing on your tenant and get you squared away. We have a question.
Okay, this question is from a Chartec ARC user, and they are indicating that they have recommended configurations, and they want to know about that.
Yes. Chartec has some custom reporting and dashboards that they have that some of their members get. Did you go through your sales rep or, well, sorry, you can't really answer me, but if you talk to your sales rep, you should be given access to the pack that has any other Chartec content that we've got. There's some custom commissions reporting and other things that we've worked on with them. So they have very robust commission reporting specifically, but they also have some dashboards that they've requested that you guys should get access to as well. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to go back to my widget creator there. Sorry about that. And I'm going to just open it. Let's do tickets resolved again. Okay. So if I want to get another copy of this, I would simply save as, give it a name, give it a category, tickets resolved today, help desk only. So why would I do this instead of just using the using the widget on the actual dashboard and then manipulating the filters there? And what I mean by that is basically if I can just add the tickets resolved today, why would I need a tickets resolved today that's looking at only the help desk? Where that comes in is if you're going to give people access to, say, or view-only access to a dashboard. So you'll just want to keep in mind that you can certainly leave everything open for them to modify themselves at the dashboard level, or you can hard code things to kind of minimize that. So it's really just going to come down to your use case and how you guys interact with the dashboards and your end users. If most of your folks are just going to be looking at things, maybe they don't need any access to stuff, and you can just go ahead and make it very basic and straightforward for them. Or if they're going to look through a list, they'll find tickets resolved today help desk only. Perhaps they're not particularly comfortable modifying things directly, so you'd go ahead and just set it up in advance for them. And you could technically still leave it so they could actually change it at the dashboard, but most of the time you're going to want to just keep a minimal number of widgets in here and configure them at the dashboard level if you're an admin, and then you'll just grant access to your read-only folks later. Keep in mind, I'm talking about read-only. That's something that's coming very, very soon. It is not activated yet, so there's not a way to set that up today. That is a new enhancement that we are adding. I'm just making sure that I just wanted to kind of touch on why you might want to do something like that, whereas typically duplicating an existing one that's just looking at normal stuff wouldn't be really prudent. You would just create, or you just add that existing widget to a dashboard. Let's see, so if I wanted to, but let me show you some goofy stuff. So I've got that drill down that goes to my tickets resolved today, but I can technically drill down to anything I want. So this is completely unrelated to the gadget that we're looking at, but this is what I mean. So you can actually drill down into a totally different gadget. It doesn't just have to be a list of related data. You can actually just keep drilling on down, move this over. So if you wanted this to go to resolved by tech, for example, I don't know if I actually have one of these in the master with the, yeah, no, that's in the full. This is the trial stuff, so it's just based on what's actually included in those trial dashboards. But that'd be a good one, right? So if you had tickets resolved today, and then your drill down actually went to tickets resolved by tech today, as opposed to just a list. But keep in mind, when you've got it going to tickets resolved today, you've also got, oops, sorry, I want the tickets resolved today drill down. You've also got the option to group things this way as well. So if you added who the resolving member was, you could just group, in this case I don't have that here, I've got the resources, but you could actually go ahead and group that way as well instead of going to a chart. But some people want to just click over and see a chart. The sky is the limit. You can do any of these that you want. Obviously some are more useful than others. And what else do we have? Okay, and much like every other screen, if you need to delete this, just click the button marked delete. Okay, so data queries you got a bit of a sneak peek into. And let's see, so I'm gonna go ahead and make this a little bigger. Show me all. Okay, so anything that's indicated as a lookup, you'll see the icon for it's a little different, and also it'll just be referencing that it is a lookup. So if you wanted to get a list of all your existing lookups, do that. And so what these are doing, these lookups are actually just going and giving us a list of those available statuses, those available invoicing statuses, charge code, work types, work roles, and these can be reused in a number of different places. You'll see them in your dashboard filters, you'll see them in your widget filters. Technically, you could turn it into a list or a table widget. I don't know why that would be particularly interesting to you, but technically you could use it for that. It is just a data query. But then we have, for example, open ticket, sorry, my tickets open. And the way these get set up, if you were to come in and make one yourself, which we're not going to do today, but there is a webinar scheduled for that. I will come back to those webinars and figure out what day that's on. But this is where I would actually go and indicate, this is for a gauge, it's for a text gadget. And that would just mean that what this is doing is it's simply returning a count. So it's not going to give me a whole table of information. It's just going to return, and you know how I tell that? I click test. So why don't I show you? So I'm going to hit execute, and that's actually, this is the only thing being returned. So it's just one column, one row, a value of 670. That does not mean anything in a list view, but it certainly does mean something in a text gadget or in a gauge where it's got that sort of dial that's going, like a fuel gauge, something like that. And that is the query itself, and then our parameters get added here. I'm actually going to go find one that's not using a username, just a regular tickets. Let's do tickets entered. Okay. So if you don't know SQL, that's not a problem. We are just touching on this very quickly to show you how these are set up. So everything behind these queries, it's just a simple SQL query. And then we add these parameters, which are referenced inside my query. So in this case, I'm just looking for anything that was entered today and is not a child ticket. But that also allows me to filter, me, the end user, me, the person using the dashboard, to, in addition to those filters, to the actual, you know, the clauses inside of my SQL query, I also have additional filters that I can apply. That's all it means. So if I give you something that says that it is tickets with no time, you can then further filter it, but you can't change the whole definition entirely because this still all will always apply no matter what. So even if I was looking for, say, tickets entered today, and I filter that status down to a status that none of my tickets entered today were in, you're not going to see it anymore. And in the same vein, if you're looking for a status that doesn't exist, but if you're looking for something that was entered yesterday and it's in the status that you selected, it is also not going to show up because at the end of the day, whatever we have before all these guys, you know, before all your filters, that's still going to matter. That's all going to override. So there's no kind of overriding that sort of base definition of a widget. But the parameters, as we add them, get added here. They do have to be one word, no spaces. And there's where we would select, who's this board name? So this is the service board lookup. Just like on the dashboard settings I showed you, this is where you're going to pick that lookup query, and it's going to make it available over here and anywhere that you would have the filters. So that board name you'll see then gives me my drop down that gives me all my boards, shows me my old funky inactive boards. And those of you who might be wondering why we include inactive designations, that's because when you're doing historical reporting, you will have tickets, you will have activities and things in those old inactive statuses. So if we remove those and don't allow you to select them, you'll inadvertently be removing things from your historical reporting. So we do keep those in there so that you have the option to include or exclude them. All right. For those of you who will be doing custom things, more advanced stuff, this debug feature is actually very nice. It shows you what's actually being passed in the query. We'll touch on that more at a later webinar, so I won't belabor that point, but just an FYI, we do have all this good stuff built in to make it easy for you. Other great thing is when I've already got something set up, I've already got all my parameters ready to go, they're in place, I'm happy with them. I don't need to do it all from scratch. I can just duplicate it, swap out my query, give it a different name, and we're good. Most folks are probably not going to spend a lot of time down here in the data queries, so don't worry about that too much if that looks a bit daunting. The widget creator and the dashboard browser definitely good for somebody even if you don't have any history with SQL or any real experience there. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions at this point? I have kind of blown through a lot of things here very quickly, so part of that was by design, but if I missed anything or you have any questions about stuff that you've seen, I can certainly take a stab at them. Yes, this webinar is recorded. All our webinars do get recorded, and I will show you here on our docs site. If we just go to docs. So right here on the home page, we've got the upcoming events and webinars. That's going to show you anything coming up, but it's also going to take you to, oh, sorry, the archive is here. Change that. Okay, so they do end up here. It'll be here under the ConnectSMART SP Dashboards 101. I think this is not even restricted at this point, right? Oh, there we go. All right, so as soon as I wrap this up, I just need to get this uploaded to YouTube, and this will be added to the page. And so yes, it is definitely recorded. All our webinars are, and you can see the ones in the past that you may have missed just by going to our training and webinar video archive. Any other questions right now? Okay. All right, everybody. I hope to see you on Thursday's webinar where we are going to deep dive into, what is it? I think it's dashboards. Yes, okay. So Thursday is the deep dive into dashboard creation and configuration. So we are going to kind of ignore some of those things like the data queries and the widget creator itself to focus strictly on creating and working with the dashboards with existing widgets. And then just before Christmas, we have the newly added content. So that's where I'm actually going to run through some of the things that I think, actually, like this 10 most wanted. This is new. We did not have it in CS4, so this is something we like very much. That's the kind of thing that we'll be discussing in next Tuesday's webinar. That's some new reports, some of the new CAN dashboards, like that sales dashboard. And then the following week is the widget creation and customization. And once we make it on into the new year, we will be doing, that's where we'll see Gail doing the deluxe report customizations, and then we'll be doing some more advanced stuff with the custom widgets, creating your own data queries and parameters in the middle of January there. So we've got plenty to keep you busy if you have time, and hope to see you there. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.